Hello everyone, welcome to Technology Begins. In this video, we will learn about decorators in Python. So what is decorators? Decorators is nothing but whenever you want to wrap one function on another function. Okay, so whenever we want to change or modify the behavior of function or a class, then we can use the decorators. So how these decorators will work, and this decorator will uh, called before the function definition. Okay, so how this will work, let's see example of decorators. Before that, we need to uh, see the few concept about them. So let's see that first. So first of all, we need to see if we are assigning function to the variable, and that variable we will use to call that particular function. So how we can do that? So I have one function called greetings. Okay, and which return me hello Python. Okay, and I am assigning this function to another variable. Okay, so we can say variable called x, and I am assigning this function into the variable. So this is how we can assign the variable into the function to the variable, sorry. So, and if I want to call that function, then I can call like this. And if any parameter required for these greetings, then we can pass into this. Okay, and if we run this program, see the output hello Python. Okay, so whenever uh, we want to assign function to the variable, and that variable will needs to use as the function call like this. We have called this variable as a function call for this greeting function. So this is how you can assign the function to the variable and run and call it. Okay, so this is the first concept. And another is, what if there is a function inside of another function? Okay, and for that I am using addition, and addition have one function, and which is returning 2, sum of two values like this, and I'm calling and returning that function itself. So this is basically a concept of function inside of the function and returning the another function inside of the addition function. Okay, so whenever we want to call the function inside of the another function, or we can say one function is returning another function by defining the other function inside of that particular function. What is the meaning of that? We have the addition function, we have defined the add function inside of the addition function, and returning this add function for this addition function. So whenever we call this addition function, then it will return the value of this add function. That is the meaning of that basically. Okay, so this will return us the 7. So this is how you can define the function inside of another function and call the another function and return that particular function. And what if the function is passing the argument as the function? As you know, we can pass the argument as a function. We have used that type of function like map, reduce, and filter, which is required the function as the argument. Okay, so what if we are passing the function as the argument? So if I am passing def add, let me clear this, def add, then I am passing that function, this function over here, okay, and returning that function. This is very simple example for understanding how we can pass the different function to another function and how we can declare the function inside of the function. Okay, this is basically a concept purpose for decorators. So for that, Python3 our file name, so that will return us the function, and we need to pass this add function inside of this addition function as a argument. As you can see, we have passed the one function as an argument to another function. So this is basic concept which we need to uh, make sure that we know this concept, how we can pass the function as an argument, how we can define the function inside of another function, and how we can return the another function from one function, as we have seen for addition and add. Okay, so let's see how we can define the decorator. So I am writing one function and which is used for wrapping on another function. Basically decorator means wrapping the function with another function, which will uh, extend the behavior of our function without modifying the behavior of our structure. So this is basically a decorator function which is accepting the another function as an argument, and inside of that we have defined one function, wrapper function, okay, and which will also accept the argument, whichever argument required for this function. Okay, so I am passing this for the name, and in return we need to return the function. Okay, as we have seen for the addition and add. So what we have done here is we have defined one is valid function, and which is accepting the function as an argument. After that we have defined another function inside of the one function which is invalid, and we have defined wrapper function inside of it, and which is accepting the argument name, and this wrapper function will call whenever this is valid function will call. So whenever we have defined wrapper, then we need to return the wrapper function. Okay, so this is how you can return the function for is valid, and so whenever this is valid function will call, that will call this wrapper function, and this wrapper function will return our function which we have passed in the argument of this particular is valid function. This might be confusing, but whenever you will understood the terminology, so you can get the idea. Function, and we need to check if name is in lowercase or not. So this will return as the true or false. So what we have done this for decorator is basically we have defined one function called is valid, which is accepting the function as an argument. After that we have defined the wrapper function inside of it, and we are calling that wrapper function from the return of the is valid function. Okay, so we are calling another function while return, as we have seen in addition and add. So the whenever this is valid function will call, that will call this wrapper function immediately, and a wrapper function will accept the one argument which is name, and that is returning the function, and that is passing this name argument inside of the function which we have got from the isValid argument. Okay, so let's see how this is working. Def, I have one another function called the get name, and inside of that I am checking this name variable. Okay, and this name is the parameter of this get name. Okay, or we can say we can return the lower. Okay, we will return whatever string will be passed to this name, we will convert it into the lower. So decorator is something like this. Whenever I am going to add name is equal to get name, and I am passing that particular name inside of this Python, I am passing the argument of name in the uppercase. Okay, and if I am assigning this function to this variable, okay, like this, so I don't need to pass this argument inside of this. So this is basically same as when we have seen the assign the function to the variable. So we have assigned one function to the variable which is valid function, which is this is valid function is assigned to the name variable, but this is valid is required a function as the argument, so we are passing the function inside of it. And if we are calling this name variable with argument Python, okay, I forgot this parenthesis. As you can see, it has converted the string name which is in uppercase into the lowercase. Okay, so basically this is the concept how decorator is working. So but Python have a functionality, so you don't need to assign this function to the variable, and then you don't need to call that variable itself. Okay, but instead of that you can write like this is valid. To define the decorator, you must need to write like this @decorator name. So this decorator will call before this function definition whenever you call this function. Okay, so whenever you call this getName function, then it will basically call this decorator first, and this decorator function is valid will call this wrapper function, and wrapper function will have the argument name, and that name argument will go to this our function is nothing but this get name itself. This get name function is wrapped by this is valid function, and this wrapper function is going into this wrap function. Basically this is valid is a wrap function, and get name is wrapping function. Okay, wrapped function, get name is a wrapped function, and this is wrap or wrapping function. Right, in this scenario, so whenever this get valid function will call this function that accept the function as an argument, that function is nothing but get name. Okay, and that function we will return this function of name dot lower. Okay, this name dot lower string will going into this function, and that string will be written from this function. So this is how decorator is working. So decorator is nothing but wrapping the function of on the another function, and this wrapper function is allow us to change or modify the behavior of our function. So as we have seen, we have changed the behavior of our string from upper to lower. Basically that is the meaning of that. Let's run this program. So this is how it is giving the same output. Okay, so this is how we can uh, use the decorator, and how we can if we are not using this decorator, then how we need to call that particular function by assigning that to the particular variable. I hope you have understood the concept of decorators in Python. Thank you. See you in the next video.